Welcome back. Is it Cardano, Solana, or Ethereum? Well, Charles Hoskinson claims Cardano's Bitcoin DeFi will eclipse Ethereum and Solana combined. Well, that's quite the claim. In today's video, we're going to break this claim down. We're going to look at Cardano's blockchain versus Ethereum and Solana's blockchains, and we're going to understand which blockchain is better, which is the superior blockchain. But first, it is important that you guys do me a favor and give the video a free thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, that way you never miss a new video. We upload almost every single day on this channel to bring you the latest happening in the financial world. We're going to be talking about all of the metrics of the blockchain, their throughput, how many smart contracts they have, how many dApps they have, and all of the data that I would think is important to understand which ecosystem is superior. But we're going to be starting right here with what Charles Hoskinson said about Cardano, Ethereum, and Solana. Let's get into it. So now that everybody hit the subscribe button and gave the video a thumbs up, Charles Hoskinson has lit a fire under the DeFi world. During a recent conversation, he made a bold prediction saying Cardano's Bitcoin DeFi will become 4 times larger than the combined DeFi of Ethereum and Solana. Well, that is quite the claim here, Charles. So if we go to DeFiLlama.com and we look at the current state of the DeFi ecosystem, all you got to do is click on chains and then look at the chains, and this basically ranks them in terms of total value locked. Now, obviously, the Cardano ecosystem argues and says, oh, but Cryptoviser, we shouldn't be using total value locked because whatever. Whatever you guys want to say, at the end of the day, number of protocols built on Ethereum is 1,300 plus. Solana has 200 plus built on them. So combined, over 1,500, well, just a little bit less than 1,500 protocol. We'll say 1,400 protocols. And by the way, this doesn't even include all the Ethereum layer 2s or Solana layer 2s as well, which should be included because they're part of the base layer. But anyway, moving right along, if we look at Cardano, all the way down here on the list, 46 protocols. And by the way, no actual live interoperability between chains. That's one of the reasons that the total value locked and the ranking of Cardano's DeFi is so low, at least in my opinion. It's because there's not a lot of interoperability. So there's not the ability to transfer value across chains, specifically in the stablecoin arena. As we know, stablecoins is really where the cross-chain value transfer metrics come into play. Anyway, this statement didn't just raise eyebrows, it shook the floor. I mean, my floor didn't shake. Critics called it ambitious, supporters called it inevitable. Either way, eyes are now fixed on Cardano. The race for DeFi dominance just turned into a heavyweight battle. Hoskinson didn't throw numbers around without reason. This vision stems from a deep belief. Cardano's structure was built with patience and precision. Ethereum rushed, Solana broke, Cardano evolved. Wow. Clearly, a Cardano maximalist wrote this. Anyway, now the steady climb starts to pay off. The push towards Bitcoin DeFi comes with smart engineering. Wrap Bitcoin unlocks endless possibilities. Liquidity flows where opportunity lives. Cardano welcomes that flood and opens the gates. But here's the deal, guys. It's not here yet. It's not here yet. The only current blockchain, the only one, we have to go to dashboard.internetcomputer.org. Internet Computer is the only blockchain, period. Okay? It's the only blockchain with real AI. And it's the only blockchain with Bitcoin DeFi on it. Now, you could argue that Ethereum does have a connection to Bitcoin, which is true. But Internet Computer is the only one able to read and write and deploy smart contracts on Bitcoin today, when I'm recording this video in the middle of 2025. So Charles Hoskinson, and by the way, Internet Computer DeFi is not even close to Ethereum, not even close to Solana. And I'm a huge Internet Computer bull. They blow Internet Computer DeFi out of the water, okay? So Internet Computer already has Bitcoin DeFi, and it's nowhere near Ethereum and Solana, let alone combined. So for Cardano to claim this has to be a very ambitious goal. But how are they going to achieve it? So part of my job as an analyst is to understand, is this possible? What would be the challenges? And, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? Probably not. I mean, if we just look at these other two ecosystems, which we are going to do, I'm actually going to compare Cardano and Ethereum, Solana and Ethereum to see which is better. But I mean, I just showed you the data from DeFi Llama, right? I showed you the data from Internet Computer that it's already there. Cardano's talking about achieving something in the future, maybe next cycle, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 3, maybe never, right? But at the end of the day, how I invest is I look at what the technology is today, and is it investable today? Because making this claim that DeFi is going to surpass these other two, it's combined with no current actual DeFi built on Bitcoin to begin with. How are you claiming this, right? Meanwhile, Solana, they're not even focusing on like what Cardano's doing, because Solana is just focusing on continuing to improve their blockchain, right? Validators patch a 0-day bug that could have led to unlimited minting of certain tokens. So they have obviously some things that they're still working on, because people are still using these meme coin ecosystems and these token aggregators. And by the way, DeFi Development Corp, formerly Janover, they're planning to raise $1 billion to buy more Solana. So DeFi Development Corp, I think the new ticker name is going to be, I don't know, DFDV, something like that. But it was formerly Janover, and they're buying Solana, and they're talking about acquiring a validator business as well. So they're going to be validating and acquiring Solana in a publicly traded company. So we have Ethereum ETFs. We have Ethereum in basically every blended ETF or crypto-related product as well. We have Solana having their own ETF, or I should say Grayscale Trust, right? They have Solana Trusts. And Solana is in pretty much all of the blended crypto products as well. And Cardano's not there. There's no ETF. There's no Cardano Trust over at Grayscale. And so the institutional interest is not there either. I'm not saying it's not going to be in the future, but we're not there today. And so how can Charles claim this is going to be better than Ethereum and Solana's combined when we don't even have an MVP, minimum viable product? Anyway, if we look at the actual metrics of these chains, this also kind of gives us a little bit more insight into where these chains are performing. Now, if we look at the number of dApps, this shows the total number of dApps tracked by dApp Radar on the chain. Ethereum has basically 5,000 dApps. Solana, 481 dApps. Cardano, 79. So Cardano has significantly less number of dApps by large factor, right? 79 versus 5,000 or 79 versus 481. There's still a huge gap between the number of dApps on these chains, with Ethereum being number 1, Solana being number 2, and Cardano being number 3, even with the combination of Ethereum and Solana. If we look at the total number of contracts, these are total number of smart contracts tracked by dApp Radar. By the way, on previous videos, I said that it's impossible to track the Solana smart contracts, but apparently dApp Radar is able to track it, which is awesome. But Ethereum has basically almost 200,000, 187,000 smart contracts deployed on the blockchain. Solana has 2,500, so a big gap right there. And let's see where Cardano's 179. I mean, guys, seriously. They have 179 contracts. So even if you times that by 10, Solana has more than 10 times the number of contracts. And Ethereum basically has almost 100 times the number of contracts that Solana has, which is basically 10,000 times the number of contracts that Cardano has. So, I mean, is it really fair to say, based on today's metrics, that at some point in the future, Cardano is going to have more than Ethereum and Solana combined? Based on the data that we're looking at today, I would say the answer to that question is no. The answer to the question is Cardano going to be able to surpass Ethereum and Solana based on today's metrics in terms of DeFi? I mean, maybe in 50 years, but definitely not based on the metrics that we're looking at today. And so we have to look at some of the other metrics as well. And by the way, I'm not trying to FUD Cardano. I'm just like, Charles is making this very big claim that Cardano's Bitcoin DeFi is going to eclipse Ethereum. And meanwhile, he's not mentioning Internet Computer, which is already miles ahead of where Cardano is. Cardano doesn't even have the deployment on Bitcoin, and Internet Computer has 247 Bitcoin wrapped or interoperated between Internet Computer and Bitcoin. That's a lot. 250 Bitcoin. That's like 250 Bitcoin times, let's say $95,000. It's $24 million. I mean, that's not a huge amount compared to the overall market cap of crypto, but that's still a pretty big number, right? And so, yeah, if we look at the two chains, right, Cardano versus Ethereum, and you guys have to understand, for interoperability to work, for DeFi to work, you need to be able to have bandwidth, throughput, right? You can't have DeFi if you can't process transactions. The same way you can't have, like, you can't go to a grocery store and they have one cash register. Like, that's not going to work, right? Like, nobody's going to shop there. It's not going to work. They need a lot, right? So you need that bandwidth. You need that throughput so that you can deal with transactions, deal with customers, deal with smart contracts, deal with the interoperability, deal with the bridges, deal with the communication from one chain to another. You need that very high throughput. That's why we see blockchains getting attention from the tech world, like Solana. The reason that it gets so much attention is because it has some of the fastest throughput. Because when Solana launched, they knew that's what all the other chains were trying to accomplish but couldn't. So what did they do? They launched the chain with very high throughput. So automatically Solana gets a leg up. Anyway, if we look at Cardano versus Ethereum in terms of transactions per second, even though Ethereum is a very slow blockchain, they still have Cardano has 96% less than Ethereum. If we flip it around, Ethereum has 42 times more transactions per second than Cardano. 42 times. The max theoretical transactions per second is 6.6 times. So we're even higher than the theoretical maximum transactions per second. If we look at the block time, you could see Ethereum block time is basically 40% less than Cardano's. Ethereum's finality is 8 times more than Cardano's finality. So Cardano finalizes transactions faster. I'd imagine that's because they have less transactions processing, right? Now, if we compare Solana to Ethereum, let's actually flip this. So Ethereum, we could keep at the top. Ethereum transactions per second is 98% less than Solana. So Solana is 63 times more than Ethereum. So do the math on that. Solana is 63 times more than Ethereum, and Ethereum is 42 times more than Cardano. So Solana effectively is like 100 or 200 times more than Cardano. The max theoretical transactions per second, Solana's is 546 times more than Ethereum. The block time, Solana block time is 96% less than Ethereum's. And the finality is 98% less than Ethereum. So clearly Solana is much faster than Ethereum, even though it doesn't have as much usage as Ethereum, if that makes sense. So when we're comparing these blockchains and really rating them, you have to look at many different factors and many different categories of the technology. For me, the way that I'm looking at it is clearly from a blockchain processing perspective, Solana is significantly better than Ethereum, and Ethereum is significantly better than Cardano, as we just showed you in the comparisons. Now, if we look at actual usage of the chain, by far, Ethereum is significantly more used than Solana, and Solana is significantly more used than Cardano. These are just based on the math and the metrics. And so it is not impossible for Cardano to surpass both Ethereum and Solana, and maybe even combined. It's not impossible. But for Cardano to do this, they would have to significantly improve their metrics by multiples, by like 10x or 100x their metrics. Because just to get to Solana in many of these metrics, they need to 10x, or to get to Ethereum, they'll need to 100x. And when you're talking about the transaction bandwidth or the blockchain processing speed, again, Cardano would at least have to 10x to get to Ethereum and 100x to get to where Solana is. And again, this is not impossible. Cardano has had a lot of time and a lot of, I think, the lot of patience from the community for this to actually happen. So maybe it will. You know, Cardano has a lot of projects up their sleeve, like Midnight and this and that, that they are promising are going to change the way that people look at Cardano, are going to promise the way that Cardano operates as an ecosystem. And I hope that that's true. But again, the way that I invest is looking at what is today. What is the technology today? And is it possible to get there tomorrow? Based on my analysis, it's not impossible, but based on Cardano's, slow development speed and constant delays and chasing narratives effectively, I don't know that we are going to see it happen. Because if we were, I would imagine Charles would probably just come out and say, we have better DeFi than Ethereum and Solana combined. But they don't have it today, so they have to talk about what is happening tomorrow, instead of maybe doing a collaboration with Internet Computer Protocol, which they can definitely do. I mean, there's no reason that they can't do it, where Cardano gets a chain key connection into Internet Computer's ecosystem and then can bridge over to Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, that's also going to be using Internet Computer's technology, which is going to push up Internet Computer and maybe not even Cardano. But I do think that that would be a solution for Cardano to utilize, because not connecting to USDC, at the end of the day, it's only hurting Cardano's ecosystem, the holders of the bags, effectively, right? It's not hurting me, and it's not hurting Circle, and it's not hurting Ethereum, and it's not hurting Solana, right? It's hurting Cardano. The fact that they don't have USDC, the fact that they don't have interoperability bridges, the fact that, and by the way, they'll say, well, it's because Ethereum bridges always get hacked. Okay, but that's not a reason not to have it, right? Your bank account could get hacked. Your credit card could get hacked. It's not a reason not to use it. And so I don't know how Cardano plans to achieve these things. I am definitely open to understanding it. Otherwise, we wouldn't even be making these kind of videos. But right now, there's no way. There is absolutely no way that we are going to see Ethereum or Solana, or put them combined and see Cardano surpass their abilities, when Cardano's not even close to where Internet Computer is. And Internet Computer is the only ecosystem that has DeFi on Bitcoin today. So this is the hype cycle, guys. We are in the hype cycle. We are in the final stages of the 2024-2025 bull market. And we're going to be seeing wild claims on the AI front, on the gaming front, on the DeFi usage front, on everything, with every ecosystem. But at the end of the day, what matters is what we have today, because this is what the technology these companies are going to be adopting and using today. They're not going to be saying, okay, well, we want to implement this, but we'll wait 6 years until you can figure out how to get the technology implemented, hopefully. No, they want the technology today. And if you don't have the technology today, guess what? They go to another blockchain, whether that's Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, Internet Computer, or other. They'll go to another chain. And so as an investor, you have to think about that. You have to look past these predictions, these claims, these price predictions that people make, these claims about where the technology is going to be, how many governments are going to be adopting the technology or buying the coin, because none of that matters. What matters today is what the technology is and what the capabilities to build out on. Because if Cardano wants to build DeFi on Bitcoin, They need to build other technologies to get over to Bitcoin first and deploy those and test those before they can build out this whole DeFi ecosystem. People think it's just going to happen tomorrow. It's not, right? They build the technology, then you have builders, then they test it, then they start, like proof of concepts. This could take years. And Internet Computer is already there. So once again, Internet Computer enters a video, not even really having anything to do with Internet Computer. But at the end of the day, when you ask, which crypto is superior? Well, if you're just talking about Bitcoin DeFi, all roads lead to ICP. Now, if you're talking about actual DeFi, well, it's really Ethereum. Ethereum has the most protocols, the most total value locked by a lot. And if you add all the layer 2s on top of that, it's even more. And so even Solana doesn't even come close to where Ethereum is from a usage, from a deployment, and from an actual money locked perspective. Because this number, the total value locked, is really the only number that matters. Because this shows where people are putting their money. And where people put their money matters more than what the people say the technology will be able to do. Because the money is going to pump the technology to be used and integrated into many different systems and companies and transactions. And that is what brings value to the ecosystem. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think about everything we discussed today. Which blockchain is better? Is it Cardano, Ethereum, Solana, or Internet Computer Protocol? See you guys on the next video. Invest responsibly. Do me a favor, give the video a thumbs up. Do your own research. And as always, crypto on.